What's up, guys? What's up, guys? What are we doing today? Well, today's Thursday, and listen to a little Sonic D music right now, getting ready for the class. Hope you all have your textbooks ready. Textbooks ready and waiting, because we're going to cover a lot of stuff today. Got a little Death by Coconut. All right. All right. So what are we doing today? Oh, I got a beer. I already said I got Death by Coconut. I got that right here. That's beer, coconut-flavored stout beer. You can both be an adult, learn your ham radios, and have beers at the same time. So, what's up? So, what are we doing today? Well, we mentioned it before. I tried to do this last week or the week before that. We're going to start working through the Technician's Handbook made by Gordon West. That's the man right there. El Gordo. That's his nickname, Gordo. He's from Monrovia or something like that, Southern California. Good guy. I've gotten to meet him a couple of times. Real smart, and he co-authored this with another individual. I'm just going to go around. So, first, there's a video I made on why you should get licensed. You can go watch that. I'll put it in the link in the description for those that are watching a little bit late. But we're going to talk about just the book, right, what the book is saying, but I'm not going to give away, quote-unquote, the secrets. You still need to go buy the book, and I recommend if you're going to go buy the book, go check out my Amazon A store, which is... Oh, that's not it. This guy. There's my A store. Hashnasi's Radio Provisions. You can go check that out. Should be in the description to this video. And you can go buy the book if you want, because I'm gonna take this. I've only been able to tab through a couple of these. It's gonna take us a while to get through this, right? All right, what do we got here? So who do we got? We got Mike. What's up, Mike? Howard Q, Bob in Virtual Life, David Bond. Oh no, I just started, David. This is we're going. This is brand new, and the John Z project. So no, we're just getting started, right? So what we're gonna do. I'm going to crack open this book, and I'm going to talk through a lot of details. So I'm going to switch the camera over because I got to take this camera and I got to point it at this book so we can start working through it. So give me 1 second. I am still here, though. I just don't want to show everybody like herky-jerky me moving the camera around to get this all copacetic. You see. All right. All right. So let's get it a little bit more like that. Excellent. Okay, so, is my video not, what's going on there? I just have a still, like, a pensive looking face. I think that's pretty funny. It is, my face is not moving. That's pretty funny. Is this still working? That's pretty funny. This still, yeah, this is working. You always gotta have, so let me drop this really quick. Yep. Let's try it again. You can never have just one simple working video thing. Nope, that's not it either, is it? No, it is not. Herky-jerky, man. We're getting the herky-jerkies going. Oh, okay. No, that's... I don't know if you're seeing me move or not. I'm moving this picture of me, but I don't seem to be moving at all. So okay, never mind. All right. So anyway, let's talk through the book. Okay. So there's a lot to say, and I don't want to take anything away from Gordon West because he did a good book. So do go out and buy it. But when you open it up, you're going to see this really nice CD that they put together. Covers Welcome to Ham Radio. Yeah. 6 meter skywave. So 6 meter is it's obviously higher than 2 meter and 70 centimeter, and it's where some of the longer range communication is capable with your technician class license. talk to astronauts via satellite, special event stations, satellite again, communication frequencies on 10 and higher, and we're talking about, no, communicate on frequencies 10 times higher, which I'm guessing is, yeah, microwave. Anyway, I'll let you read about him on your own time here. I think I know this guy, Eric. I think I know that man. Okay, so let's just cut forward to the first tag here. I've got this all kind of highlighted up. You can follow along if you want. I'm on page 2. What this is basically covering, and the first part of this lesson that we're going to walk through is what your basic technician class license offers you. So your technician brand, or your brand new technician license will authorize you to operate with unrestricted access on all ham bands above 50 megahertz. That means 10 meter, 6 meter, 2 meter, and 70 centimeter. It's the same frequencies primarily that you can operate your Baofangs, your 2 meter, 70 centimeter Baofangs. But it also gives you access to some restricted areas on the HF bands, primarily for CW, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The first radio will most likely be these little dual band handy talkies, which you've seen my videos before. So many times I've talked about the Baofangs. The primary operation is going to be via repeaters. We've also talked about repeaters. What is a repeater? A repeater is when you use this handy talkie to send out, transmit on a given frequency. It'll key the repeater on the, so for example, this 446.64, you'll key that repeater when you start transmitting, and everybody that's listening on the receive side of that repeater will hear you. So case in point.
Channel mode.
Well, then everything else is pretty much downhill from there.
Okay, so that's what that sounds like. That's a repeater. That's my local repeater. I'm just reading through some of this stuff. So, imagine walking down the street with your hand held, talking to a fellow ham operator in Australia, or maybe even Antarctica. Technically, you can do that if your handy talkie talks to a repeater, and that repeater is internet enabled. And there are repeaters that are internet enabled, and you can find that out by going on the different repeater listings websites that I've mentioned in my previous Baofeng videos. So, make sure you check those out too, and I'll post the link to those so you can check them out. But for those of you that don't know where to find it, it's in my Ham Radio Crash Course playlist. All right, so let's skip ahead a bit. Oh, I do want to mention this one thing. So again, you're going to be best off if you go read this yourself. This is like 2 pages that are basically completely dedicated to talking about almost like a propaganda of why you want to get in ham radio, which is good, it's interesting, but some of this stuff is a little niche, like doing global positioning, APRS, which I do with my Kenwood D72A, but most people aren't going to. Or perhaps sending slow scan pictures. Slow scan, you can send a picture via your radio. That's a format of radio, it's a mode of radio. You can bounce your signals off of the moon. All of this is totally, completely possible. And of course you can do data packets, right? So data packets are basically digitizing some form of data, whether it's your GPS location or your heading, your elevation, whatever sensors your radio may have, be able to send that over to multiple people. But here's an important thing, and I will read this kind of what's that? I need to pick up the book I get to add on the computer. Yeah. Hey, by the way, if you send a chat, it's going to pop up on the right-hand side. I will see it, and if you have a question, I will stop and I'll answer the question. So don't feel free to ask questions. Don't hold back. Not just a hobby, but a service. A lot of people talk about why do we do ham radio? Why do we do this stuff? Well, it's because it's both. Where's my chat? No, there we go. It's both a hobby and a service, and the service is for emergency preparedness, which is why I make those emergency preparedness videos. So I will read this verbatim. Not just a hobby, but a service. There's a serious side to the hobby when ham radio becomes a public service. When emergencies strike, ham radio operators are at their shining best, And at any major or local disaster, ham radios are often the first to handle emergency calls. We've mentioned this before. It's because everything else goes down, right? Even your telephone systems go down. Our ham radio nets stay on the air throughout hurricanes, during tornadoes, and even in the events of major disasters. Following the 9/11 attacks and Hurricane Katrina disaster, ham radio operators worked more than a month providing additional emergency communication capabilities to rescue workers. More recently, a team of U.S. hams volunteered for more than 2 months to provide emergency communication support following the devastating cyclone in the Philippines. You get the idea. So, there's a lot of reasons why the FCC supports ham radio, and one of those is because emergency preparedness is very important. So, what we're doing here and what I'm doing, and this is the next section, is they talk about an Elmer. The term Elmer implies somebody that helps you with your ham radio questions. Somebody who assists in your learning or tries to point you in the right direction so you don't make the same mistakes they did. That's a term for an Elmer. Usually an older person, somebody maybe a little bit smarter than you. It doesn't really matter. And you can have multiple Elmers. Some Elmers are going to be more CW proficient. They like to do Morse code. There are others that are better in digital modes. I know one, I have, not an Elmer, I don't know him that well, but he's a part of my club, that he's active in satellite communications with schools. So he'll go to schools with his equipment, and he'll help them make contacts to the ISS. That guy's an amazing Elmer for learning how to do satellite communications. So what this is saying here is join a club, get yourself an Elmer. And it literally works out that way. If you join a club, you'll find people that are like-minded to you, and then you can explore the areas that you find most interesting. Whether that's building a Yagi antenna out of a tape measure to talk to a satellite, that's a real thing, or to go direction finding and figuring out how to find people. All that stuff is usually something that someone in your local groups can do. And how do you find a group? I will go back here really quick. Where is my website? The ARRL, yep, right here. ARRL on Google. I'm mentioning this because it's very important. Where do they have the clubs? Get involved. Should be under get involved if I remember correctly. Learn, training resources, social media, clubs, right here. Here you go. Clubs are ham radio amateurs. Link to local hams and activities. Find a club in your local area. Ham on a budget. Yeah, generally clubs like you to be licensed, but if it's just a stopgap between you and getting licensed, then most likely they have no problem with letting you join and stuff like that. I've never heard of a club that had any big deal with that. So, all right, technician class license. What does this give you access to? What are we talking about? There's a lot of heady details in here, but I want to talk about some important things, particularly when we talk about how to read ham radio frequency mapping. Here we go. So, this one I am going to try and put on video for you pretty well. So, when we talk about the license area of ham radio, we're talking about this space. This is audio, and then up through gamma rays. Light is here, X-rays are here, gamma rays are here. This little highlighted area is where ham radio exists, and it's in high frequency, very high frequency, and ultra high frequency. And if you take this, you can see this exploded out. It kind of widens out to this point. Here's HF, VHF, and UHF. This is where your ham radio bands exist. And then they've got further tick marks that break this down further. So here's your 6 meter, which is in the low side, or high side, I guess, depending on how you look at it, on VHF low band, and then it goes all the way up through 2 meters, 22, 22, and 440. Okay, so there's your meat and potato areas within your technician class license, right? So 2 meters, 70 centimeters, which is 440 kilohertz. Okay, and an easy way of explaining this is I like this small stone, small ripples, higher frequency, shorter wavelength. large stone, and this is like in the water. Large ripples, lower frequency, longer wavelength, right? So as the ripples are larger and wider, you're more on the HF side, and as they get shorter and smaller and faster, then you're on the VHF side. John, hey, all right, you got your yeah. So ham cram is a good way of doing this. I'm trying to do this the best I can, thinking through what questions I had when I went through this. But if at any time someone has questions and they think that I should explain it or go into greater detail, go ahead and mention it, and I'll work through it. All right, so this is important. This is all, again, this is just one format of displaying this. This is all on the ARRL website. There's lots of ways to see this. But what this does is it explains what your privileges are. Technician class operating privileges, right? Come on, focus. Focus. On 40 meters, you got a range that you can go through. Let's see this. Oh, okay, yeah. So what this is basically, let me get that. Don't mind me. I'm just trying to sort things out here. Okay. So 80 meters starts at 80 meters and it goes all the way down until you get through 76 meters, 2 meters, 70 centimeters. Your kind of meat and potatoes frequencies that you have access to with your technician class license are going to be 40 meters and 10 meters. The problem with both of these is that they're code, and in this case, data and code only on 10 meters. There's a very small side for phone. Phone means voice, single sideband, AM, that kind of thing. Most people don't use AM anymore, but you get the idea. 6 meters, you're unrestricted, all modes, meaning you can do code, you can do voice, you can do data, you can do whatever you want. Same goes for 2 meters, and the same goes for 70 centimeters. This is the kind of unrestricted areas of your technician class license, right? So keep that in mind. Now that we've talked about what you get access to with your technician class license, right? You get access to all these areas, but it breaks it down based off of the range of the megahertz, right? So when you pull up your radio and you start tuning along the megahertz, you need to make sure you're not violating the space. In this case, code only, right? CW, data and code, CW, data and code, CW. But when you're all modes, you can do whatever you want. That doesn't mean you can just go along and just go crazy, send CW or code or wherever. They have something called a band plan. And it's kind of unofficial, but it's helpful to know it so that you don't piss anybody off. And let me be clear, you can piss people off, and if you piss them off, they might actually come find you. I've heard that people have looked up call signs, gone and figured out who that person was via the open database so you can look up call signs, and then actually went to their house, knocked on the door, and said, "Hey, you're being a jerk," or threatened to hurt them, etc. That's legit happened. I'm not going to cover 6 meters because I don't do 6 meters. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I'm going to talk about 2 meters really quick, and then we'll do 70 centimeters. So, you know how on that previous emergency comms video, I was talking about how, within a certain range of frequencies, there's certain events going on? Well, that's kind of what this is trying to explain. So it's basically saying that between 144.00 and 144.05, they do EME, Earth, Moon, Earth, meaning moon bounce. And it says CW, continuous wave Morse code, right? So you can take this, look at these frequency ranges, and match them to what use it is, and that explains kind of what's going on. So they have an area for general CW and weak signals. CW, just as a general statement, CW operates really well with weak signals. So if you're low power and you've got a poor signal because of geographic location, you can use one of these weak signal areas or CW to get out. Not so much a thing that people do on 2 meters. People don't generally do CW with their handy talkies, but hey, it's an option. And then it breaks down here. So you've got general single sideband, single sideband. This is FM, okay? The modulation on this radio is FM. You have to have a special radio if you want to do single sideband. That's a bit more of a specialization within 2 meters. We'll talk about that later too. FM repeater outputs. This is generally where most people are. They're somewhere between 145.20 and 145.50. So that means 0.20 to 0.5. There's 30 frequency options basically for repeater receive side. FM repeater outputs. That means you're listening on that frequency for the downlink, right? So the receive side. Makes sense. 70 centimeter has a similar band plan. Unofficial band plan right here. Any questions, feel free to stop me. Okay. So I'm not gonna go into a ton of the HF stuff. Your technician class license gives you access to unrestricted VHF, UHF, which is great for, like I said, handy-talkies, generally a shorter distance communication mechanism if you're not utilizing the internet and a repeater. HF is kind of like the main part of ham radio. It's what a lot of people graduate. If you just enjoy talking on a handy-talkie mobile, maybe just rag chewing on a repeater, then you may just stop here, and that's fine. And this is great for emergencies. Most people just use VHF, UHF for emergencies, right? With that said, if you want to do the really long distance stuff, like when people have talked about, you know, I talked to somebody in New Zealand or Japan or Europe, they're talking about high frequency HF, and I made a note here that on HF, long distance communications is the normal thing to do, and it opens up a whole new world, quite literally, of amateur radio excitement. So this is an important note that Gordo makes. Sorry, it's not focusing. No, so who was that? A6K2EB. This is a BF-F8HP, which I've made a couple of videos on recently. You can go check those out if you're interested in it. It's good radio. So, verbatim. Now here's the fly in the ointment. To use 80, 40, 15, and the lower part of 10, you have to know Morse code. That's the stickling point with your technician class license. If you want, you have to upgrade to general if you want to talk on voice and do some of the more common data, which I like to do PSK31, which you've seen in some of my videos. So what does that mean? Well, you're going to have to learn Morse code. People, I think, so I'll give you a quick little Elmer note. Old ham radios. Oh, hey, what's up? South Korea. Awesome. Old ham radio operators used to have to qualify with CW, Morse code, right? They used to have to do 5 words a minute, which is not fast. It's actually pretty slow. The problem is that it's very difficult to graduate from 5 words to 10 words to 15 to 20 words. Morse code is kind of like a musical language. And if you learn it slow, your mind starts to decipher the dits and the das and the dits and the das. Like an R is dit-da-dit. Dit-da-dit. That's an R. But if you are hearing dit-da-dit and you're trying to process, well, I heard a dot, and then I heard a da, and then I heard a dit, you're going to go too slow. You can't go fast. You have to learn it by the tone, the sound of it. Ryan Chase. Okay, so I'm going on a cruise with my band class, and I just called the cruise company, and they are ham radio friendly. Yeah, I want to pack a better antenna, but it has to fit in my small suitcase. Yeah, Ryan. So obviously, what radio do you have? And what are you trying to do with that radio? And then I could probably talk about where a repeater or antenna would work. No, so the John Z project, they do not require CW, but I think it's important that you know about it, so I'm mentioning it because it's important. I think it really is, particularly if you have ambitions to get into high frequency, like we just started talking about. I think they stopped it in the late 90s, early 2000s, the requirement. But I mention it because it is important. You should think about it. And you should, if you are interested in it, you should start looking out early for CW. It's actually easy to learn CW online. I plan on doing a video on that in the future. I myself am still just learning, but it opens up a lot of options when it comes to HF. A CW signal will travel further. Well, it'll travel the same distance, but it'll be readable, much more lower in the noise than the voice, your standard voice single sideband communication. So that's all I'll say about that. CW is important, particularly if you use low-power radios like I do, what are called QRP. Q code, which we'll talk about in this book, Q code is like a set of abbreviations that when you say them or CW them or text them, will tell people what it is. Particularly something like QRP means lower your power or lower your transmit power. Most of the time QRP means I'm operating under low power. Ryan Chase, it will be a Baofeng UV5R just starting out and want to try to hit repeaters at ports and while I'm out to see if I can. Okay, so I got a perfect recommendation. I happen to like this antenna. Some people don't, but this is a... Come on, buddy. Oh, why are you not focusing? Why? Why? Oh, it went for a second. There we go. This is a Nagoya NA717. Nagoya NA717. I'll add that to my A store. But in the meantime, if you want, just go to my link on Amazon and then type in NA717. What's kind of cool about this is it's a fairly flexible antenna, and it doesn't have a lot of memory when you fold it, so you're not going to damage it, particularly if you pack it up and maybe it gets kinked up a little bit. Anyway, usually, so it's great that you asked the cruise line, are you ham radio friendly? But if you're just using one of these, that's not really what they're talking about. They're talking about like a small QRP radio station where you're actually going to unfold an antenna and hang it off of something, or it's going to be a freestanding antenna, or you're going to have a freestanding, or you're going to have a secondary power source, etc., etc. Right? So yeah, something to keep in mind. I realize I may not have much luck. Well, yeah, so the thing you can do, and this is going to take a little bit of research on your part, is you can go online. CW stands for, wait, CW. Something wave. Why did I totally spaced on that. Continuous wave. That's right. God. Anyway. Did they actually mention that? CW, CW. They call it out a lot, but where did they say CW? It's continuous wave. Anyway, it's dit dot, dit dot, dit 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 dot, dit dot. You know, that kind of idea. You get the idea. All right. That's a straight key, by the way. Don't worry about that for right now. Anyway, let's move on. You're probably done with CW stuff. So let's fast forward here a bit. Where's my next flag? All right. So let's talk about the actual getting of the license. Effective April 15, 2000, technician class, exam element 2, there are 35 questions, multiple choice, written examination, minimum passing score is 26 questions, which is 74%. 35 questions. And how it breaks down is what they're asking you for, element 2. Elementary operating procedures, radio regulations, and a smattering of beginning electronics, emphasis on VHF, UHF operation. So that's important. Well, Ryan Chase, what are you saying? Do you think a roll-up J-pole antenna would work to try and... Yeah, so absolutely. If you want to build a J-pole out of a ladder line from old... yeah, absolutely. A J-pole will get you, if you can do like a half-wave J-pole, that would do great. if you can't, and then you can just coax into your radio, sure, you'll have to hang it up. But absolutely. You can actually make a super J-pole out of a what were you calling that? Ladder line. The ladder line, look up ladder line super J-pole, and you should be able to find how to make it. And it's actually very easy to make. You just use a couple of angle cutters, and you cut a little piece out of the right side or the left side of the ladder line, and then you're going to have a connector. So you're going to need something, you know, like a UHF connector, but you need to go down. You need to step down to the SMA that this uses. So you may have to do a bit of soldering there. So the purpose of the technician class license is to really operating procedures, radio regulations, which includes safety, and then electronics very little, with an emphasis on VHF, UHF operation, because that's the meat and potatoes. Ham on a budget. He made a 90-mile contact with that UV5R, which is a 5-watt radio. This is an 8-watt radio, and this antenna. So think about that. That's pretty awesome. The way it works is you're going to go to a place, usually a hall of some kind, and you will pay a nominal fee, which is usually about $15, and there will be a team of at least 3 volunteer examiners. They're called VEs. They are tested, trained by a VEC, which is a volunteer examiner coordinator. Lots of VEs report to one VEC, where testing is planned and laid out. It's all they don't get paid for this. It's a volunteer thing, so if you go and do your license, make sure to thank them profusely, because they're taking their own time to do this, and they really just love the hobby. Ham on a budget. Roll-up J-pole's great. I can make consistent contacts on a repeater at 20 miles where my mag mount antenna cannot. Yeah, so there you go. So he gave you a call sign, N9TAX antenna. That's a call sign, so if you search that call sign plus antenna, you'll probably go to their website or their eBay auction site, and that'll give you a bit more detail. All right, so here's something important. The question pool resets every 4 years. 2014-18 question pool. So that means in the year of 2018, I believe before June, if you're interested in getting your technician class license, you need to go do that pretty soon. Got to try and make it happen. And here's how the test breaks down. Okay, this is the list of. Right, so they try and make it as easy to follow as possible. Okay, come on, bud. I'm gonna get rid of my logo. I'm gonna move it actually over my face so I can use more of that space. So there you go. All right. So the first part of the test is FCC rules, descriptions, and definitions. T2 is operating procedures, radio wave characteristics, and electromagnetic properties. Amateur radio practices and station setup. Where are we at? Electrical principles, math for electronics, electrical components, station equipment, modulation modes, antenna feed lines, and AC power circuits. That may sound like a lot, but it's really not. That's actually pretty easy. And what they're saying is there's 78 questions in the FCC rules and descriptions. That means they really want you to know that. There's 37 in operating procedures, 34 in radio wave characteristics, 24 in amateur radio practices and setup, and they give you the whole rundown for 426 questions. They're going to take, of the 426, they're going to make up a test of 35 questions. And how they break it down is you get 6 and 3 and 3 and 2 and 4 and 4 and 4 and 4 and 2 and 3. So they try and equally distribute all the questions, but you can tell where there's going to be an emphasis. So FCC rules, electrical principles, electrical components, station equipment, and modulation modes, satellite operation, activity, stuff like that. So you get the idea of how they're going to break the test down. Now, question coding. They have a code. You don't need to worry about that. You can, for the people that are kind of anal retentive, you can go ahead and learn their coding structure. All the questions follow a T, number, A, and then a number code. and that tells you from what pool and section they're from, right? T1, T2, T3, get the idea? In this case, this was from modulation modes. If I'm going too fast for anybody, tell me to slow down. So, hold on. Yeah, this is kind of an interesting point, but I highlighted it for... So here's a secret study hint. Only one exam question will be taken from any single group. Your upcoming Element 2 written exam is relatively easy with no Brunn-Kustner math formulas. Okay, that's a good thing to keep in mind. This doesn't really matter to me. I just went through the whole thing and kind of studied all the questions, and I did fine. But this is important. The technician class examination is to encourage you to get into the hobby. It's not a restriction. It's something that they want you to learn. They want you to finish. They want you to get licensed. So they don't give you anything that's too difficult to deal with. So do keep that in mind. Study suggestions. I'm just going to read these out. So study suggestions. Read over each multiple choice carefully. Some answers start out looking good, but turn bad during the last few words. This is really, really true. If you speed read the answers, you could easily select a wrong answer. Also, while they won't change any of the words in they could easily select a wrong answer. Also, they won't change any words in the answers. They will sometimes scramble the A, B, D, C order. So you may learn that, for example, which agency regulates and enforces the rules of amateur radio? Oh, of course, it's the FCC. That's item C. But they could make that A on your test. So they jumble these up. Important to learn, or keep that in mind. Keep in mind there's only one question on your test that will come from each group. That's okay, but not as important because you're going to read through all of it and you're going to learn the whole group. So give your book to your friend, ask him to quiz you. Okay. Mark the heck out of your book. Yeah, please do, because they're only good for 4 years anyway, and they don't really have any resale value. So what do you care? Just mark it up and maybe hand it off to a friend. They have book on CDs. Highlight the keywords. Okay, this is good. Okay, this is really good. Highlight the keywords 1 week before the test, then speed read the brightly highlighted keywords twice a day before the exam. And I don't just mean highlight the answer, the FCC, but you could highlight agency, regulates and enforces, rules, United States. Well, who's that? It's the FCC. FEMA doesn't do that. They're concerned about disasters. Homeland Security doesn't do that. If they did, we'd all get shot, right? You get the idea. I'm kidding, of course. I've gone through and I've highlighted a ton of these. I don't want to go through these all on camera. I actually want to show you something else right now, but I wanted to mention something, and I'm gonna find you a good example. I thought I marked one, but maybe I did not. Ah, this is a good example. Okay. So, which of the following is a vanity call sign which a technician class amateur operator might select if available? And then it says K1 XXX, KA1 X, W1 XX, or all of these choices are correct. So I have found more often than not the all of the above answer is not often the right one. That's not something that you want to default to, but don't just take that as an assumption that that's going to be the correct answer, because it's sometimes not. Okay? Oh, this is also a good point. Which of the following is an acceptable language to use for station identification when operating in phone subbands? Any nation recognized by the United Nations, any language recognized by the ITU, the English language, English, French, or Spanish. So when you say your call sign, it needs to be in English. You could be speaking Spanish to someone in California, across the border, or just in LA. When you do your call sign, which you have to do every 10 minutes, you need to use the English language. And here's why this is important. So when you're testing a radio, you don't just want to yell out, "Hey, testing." You might want to just give your call sign. Just key up, give your call sign. Particularly if you're trying to connect to a repeater, you don't want to kerchunk the repeater. You don't just want to like turn it on and squeeze the PTT a couple of times and then log out, because you can hear the repeater key up. You know, oh, the repeater just got my whatever. Don't do that. Just say, you know, your call sign, whatever it is, radio check or testing radio, and then somebody will usually respond to you. Scott Rowland, just passed my technician test on Sunday. Now I'm just waiting for my numbers. Congratulations. And so, yeah, good point on that. That's a question on the test. I'm going to grab a beer to celebrate. Question on the test is, you can start... Ooh, nitro. You can start broadcasting immediately once your call sign hits the FCC website. You don't have to wait for... you get some paper in your hot little hand telling you that you're legal. So that's good to know. So what do I want to do right now? Well, I'm gonna leave the book alone for a second. We've spent about 40 minutes kind of hitting the intro, and what I'm gonna do in the subsequent lessons here is, so there's a lot of question pools, as you can see. This is all question pools, but then it breaks it up into sections. So in this case, track 3 is control, and it breaks down the whole mind the rules. These are FCC rules. Tech frequencies. All kinds of different details. I don't want to steal the thunder. That's interesting. That's my radio right there. That's a D72A. That's APRS, baby. What I am going to do, though, is I'm going to pull up, I'm going to grab my iPad right now. And I want to show you. Here's my iPad. Whoa. Calm down there. Ooh. So what I did is I went to, wow, it is really, can't get this thing to focus. I didn't have this problem when we started. I'm going to pull up my my application here, and I'm going to set the focus point. Now I drink some beer. Hold on 1 second, guys. All right. So now, here is the ARRL. Am I still in? I am not. So what I did was I went to the App Store, and you can do this on Android as well. This is the second part. You need to go get the technician class book. You need to go get the book, the Gordon West technician class book. But also go download the ARRL. Come on. ARRL. I'm going to get this sorted out by the next time we do these, so that it'll be streaming on the actual stream without me having to like show you the screen. That's pretty stupid. But anyway, if you go down the ARRL, you have extra, technician class, prep for free. QST is a magazine. They have their own app, general class, extra class, etc. So I've already downloaded it. Ryan Chase, I've got 3 different apps on my phone for testing. I'm struggling with T8 and T9. Okay, well, let's do a test. Yeah, sure, we'll randomize the answers. Immediate feedback. Auto advance. No, I don't want to do that. So I'm going in this blind. I'm just going to do this. We'll do it live. Let me get rid of my mouse pad, too. This is making things too difficult. I wanted to do this, like, actually on my... Alright, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. Because now I'm playing this pointy, clicky game. Yeah, I wouldn't sweat out one area either. I would just do it. Once you get All right, where's the focus? Oh, look at that. Beautiful. All right, who does the FCC presume to be the control operator of an amateur radio station unless documentation to the contrary is in the station records? The FCC presume to be the control operator unless the documentation... So I'm assuming it's the person operating the station equipment. The station licensee. Oh, yeah, of course. Okay, duh. Yeah, so, there's a good tip right there. So you can have other people operate the station as long as you're there, but you are the licensed holder. See, I assumed that the person operating had a license. See how they can sometimes get you? So be careful with that. What is the FCC Part 97 definition of telecommand? A one-way traded, an instruction from a VEC. A VEC is the testing coordinator. One-way radio transmission of measurements at a distance for the measuring instrument. A one-way transmission to initiate, modify, or terminate functions of a device at a distance. An instruction bulletin issued by the FCC. You guys can scream out the answer if you think you know it, by the way. Oh, you can't, because you've got a bit of lag there. So never mind. Don't scream anything out, because you're going to be a couple behind, and then I won't know what you're talking about. I'm pretty sure it's C, which is a one-way transmission to initiate, modify, or terminate functions of a device at a distance. So you can already see what you do with this is you're going to take the whole test. How many questions? You're going to go through 26, I think? 34? Yeah, I think it's 34. What may result when the correspondence of the FCC is returned as an undeliverable because the grantee failed to provide the correct mailing address? I believe you get a suspension, revocation of the station license or suspension of the operator license, fine or imprisonment, require the license to be re-examined, a reduction. I'm going to go with A. Right, so just this is kind of a logical one. Fine or imprisonment? Yeah, get the hell out of here. Require the license to be re-examined? No, that's just a clerical error. A reduction of 1 rank in operator class. That would suck. That would suck big time. So just go with the common sense in a lot of this stuff. Ryan Chase, if I were using my neighbor's rig using my call sign, would I be the licensee or just the controlling operator? So in that case, Ryan, since you're both licensed, you would be the operator of the rig, but ultimately the owner would be the rig owner of who it was registered to. Not that. Okay, let me go back. Your home radio is your registered, licensed radio. When you have a license, the FCC is most interested in what you do when you're at home and what your home radio is. Your portables, your HTs, and stuff like that, the FCC doesn't really care about that, right? Ooh, boy. With that said, the neighbor is the owner, the registered licensee. You could also have a license, but he could have a higher class license than you, which means that you can operate on general frequencies, which, let's go to the next question, which you can operate on the radio, but you cannot operate on the general areas when he or she is not there. Ooh, who knows their electrical components? What is component 4 in figure TC? Anybody know? 4 is a... Well, let's talk through some of this. 2 looks to be a resistor. 3 is a switch. 5 is a diode. Could it be an LED? I believe that's the diode. 9 is... What is 9? A coil. Yeah, I know electrical components okay. So I think... Yeah, I know. I'm sorry about the image. I'm going to get it actually in my streaming software the next time we do this. Variable inductor. was a transformer. Which also makes sense. Uh-oh. So now knows you're wrong, so now you must do 2. What type of switch is represented by component 3 in TC? Which is a single pole, single throw, double pole, single throw, single pole, single throw, single pole, double throw. I think it's C. C is correct. Single pole, single throw switch. Why? Because it's just a single switch with a single pole. Positive, negative to complete the circuit. Which of the following restrictions apply when a non-licensed person is allowed to speak? Speak to a foreign call sign using the station under the control of the technician class operator. So it's a bit of a play on the previous question that was asked. What are the restrictions that apply when a non-licensed person is allowed to speak to a foreign station using the station under the control of the technician class control operator? The licensed control operator must do the station identification. The foreign station, I jumped ahead. All of these choices are correct. Ooh, careful with that. The licensed control operator must do the station identification. The person must be a U.S. citizen. The foreign station must be one of the U.S. one with which the U.S. has a third-party agreement. Why am I getting... hold on. I'm going to go in airplane mode. Okay. So, it's D. The answer is the foreign station must be, so you can do the call sign. The non-licensed person can do the call sign as long as it's every 10 minutes. Person doesn't. Yeah, see, it's not all of them. That's not true. It's not restricted that the person must be a U.S. citizen. Not at all. You could have a visitor from the Philippines and you are the licensed person to communicate on your radio. But the most important part is that that foreign station you're talking to that country has a third-party agreement with the U.S. John Savage, I'll show you real quick. I went to the App Store. I typed in ARRL, and I went to Amateur Radio Exam Prep Technician. That's it. It's free. I've actually used this for the general class license when I passed my exam. I'm currently studying for the extra, which just gives me more frequency access, but it's kind of frequencies that I'm not using right now, so it's not that big a deal, but hey, whatever. What are the names of the two electrodes of a diode? Why am I not? That's a transistor, it's a 3. So I believe it's an anode and a cathode. Yes. So a diode. 2 legs. 2 types. 2 electrodes. 2 whatever you want to call them. 2 metally bits that you solder to. An anode and a cathode. Yeah, good point. Scott Rowland. Good point, Scott. So if you're lucky enough to have a ham radio club in your area, and you don't have a license yet, and you want one, reach out to them. Go to a meeting. You don't have to be a member to go to a meeting in most cases. And they'll be happy that you came. And if you want to learn or get your license, then they'll most likely help you. They have good recommendations on how to get your license, good recommendations on where to test. They may even have a testing location in your area that you can just do on one shot. I know that our city's ham radio club had a study program. They had a ham cram, in which people spent all day Saturday and then they came back and tested on Sunday, and like all of them got licensed, which is really cool. And you can technician class license, you can no problem probably do it in one day with a ham cram. I'm not sure how much of it you're gonna retain of that information, but you can. It's not that hard. What electrical parameter is controlled by a potentiometer? Potentiometer. Ooh, it's not field strength. It's not resistance. That's something that you'd use a resistor for. So I don't know if it's capacitance or it's inductance. Capacitance. That's a capacitor. Potentiometer. I'm gonna go. Oh, come back. I'm gonna go with capacitance. It was C. Resistant. Oh, yeah, of course. Potentiometer. Yeah, but I've used. Oh, I guess that's true because you can use a potentiometer to change the frequency of a radio that you're receiving on. See? See? This is why you gotta do these every once in a while. I haven't taken the technician class license in over 10 years. Join the resistance, right? I don't think Bellinger? I don't think there's actually an age restriction to ham radio licensing. I think there's as young as a 4-year-old who has gotten it, if I'm not wrong. Laynirb. I will show my face shortly, but we're gonna run through this test and then we'll wrap it up. Oh, Ryan Chase. The only problem I've had with the ARRO test app is that the free one only allows 2 full testing parameters, and the HRE test has all of them. Yeah, they gotta make their money somehow. I don't mind throwing them $5, so I don't have any problem with that. What is the only time an amateur radio station is authorized to transmit music? Ooh. Who knows this one? So this one's actually pretty easy once you kind of like learn it's not a mnemonic device, but when the music produces no spurious emissions, no, cannot. When the music is transmitted above 1280, no. When the purpose is to interfere with an illegal transmission, you can just omit that one. You know that's not true. In no time with your ham radio license are you supposed to jam out spammers or people who are trying to cause problems. But when incidental to an authorized retransmission of manned spacecraft communications, boom. So yeah, that one kind of goes in the, well, this long answer is the correct one, and there's a lot of times where that is the case. So if you remember spacecraft and music, then you can remember that one, commit that to memory. What is the ITU? The United States Nations Agency for Information and Communication Technology Issues, an agency of the United States Department of Telecommunications Management, Department of the FCC, an independent frequency coordination agency. I actually don't know this. Ooh, KD2 ORF. Is it K Dorf? Is that how people refer to you? K Dorf? That's a good name. So, a United Nations agency. That seems like the most probable. Yeah, too long to be wrong strikes again. An agency in the United States. So I would say that it's either going to be A or C. That'd be my guess. A or C. We're going to go with A, though. And it's correct. So there you go. What happened? We didn't do that many. Oh, it only lets you do... I see. You passed! Ah, 7 out of 10. Yay! I can get my technician class license all over again. So, there you go. So, I have done this with the general class license, and I used to take the Metro to work. So I would just work on the test to and from work. And when I got to the point that I was answering every test, practice test, between 70% and 80%, I went to just take the test. I live fairly risky, though. I'm going to switch over. I'm going to switch my camera back, so hold on one second. So I live fairly risky, so I don't mind. I don't mind just going for it, because I don't care. I've got limited time as it is when it comes to the kids and all that stuff, so I'll generally just go for the gusto and see if I can get her done, as it were. So, any questions? What I want to do in the next time we meet, and it's probably not going to be an hour, or maybe it will be an hour. What I'm going to do is, I just heard a noise in my home. Am I getting swatted right now? So what I'm going to do is, I got totally sidetracked because of that noise I heard. It sounded like somebody had keys that were jingling around. I'm going to go through the different areas, and we're going to focus on the main areas, right? So if we go back to... Where's the glossary? No, I don't want that. Oop. Well, anyway, they break this down as we already showed. Where is it? Where is it? They break it down into tracks. So we're going to go through the tracks. It seems like the easiest way to do it. I like the way that Gordon West does the organization. And then we'll wrap it up with some practice testing in areas like, I know somebody said they had an issue with T9 and T8. Hopefully between now and the next time we do this, which is either going to be next Thursday or it's going to be the following Thursday when I have a break from... I have Christmas break for a week, so I might actually just bang out a bunch of these, and hopefully everybody can go get licensed for the new year. I have a squirt gun background because I think it's hilarious. I used to do a lot of live streaming with the gun community, gun websites, Never Enough Ammo. A lot of those guys are my good personal friends, and you can listen to them all the time on gunchannels.com. In fact, I believe they're doing a live stream right now, so when we finish here, go check them out. Gunchannels.com is a free website. And what often happens is I go there and I talk about sciencey stuff and radio stuff because I'm not just a gun guy. I like guns, but I am multifaceted in my preparedness. So I talk about a lot of things, and oftentimes I go there and we'll do special little one-off things and stuff like that. So I am a fan of the FT60, and I was asked, am I a fan of the FT65? Well, let's see. I don't know because I can't place it. Is that the one that has the... Is that the one that has the GPS built in with the APRS? The looper duper? Is this HRO? No, it's Universal Radio. Nope. I'm not a fan because I've never used one. That's not to say it's not great. I've just never used it. It looks cool. Looks like a cool radio. 190? It's kind of expensive. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 139. Okay, well, what does it have? It is a 2-meter. 40 megahertz, 70 centimeter. Yeah, looks like a slightly improved 233 memory channels is pretty good. 5-watt output, 4 scan modes, FM broadcast receive. It's pretty standard radio as far as I'm concerned. Nothing too advanced or too blah blah blah. I'm gonna move the chat a bit. Honest opinion of CERT in your area. Ham on a budget. It's okay. So they don't do enough. They don't do enough training. They don't do enough get-togethers. They don't do enough events. I like the person that's operating the classes, though. She's got a really good passion for the whole thing. I think I'm going to go the other way. I want more chat, not less chat. I think that they try to do a good job, and they generally do. And I think that their training class, at least the initial training classes, is good. The firefighter that they got to do the training was great. And up to the point that he was even like, hey, when there's a disaster, all bets are off. You're on your own. And I was like, does that mean... Ooh, what did I just do? Does that mean that I should probably think about maybe carrying a gun? Or maybe have someone carrying a gun while I try to aid or provide aid or do whatever? He's like, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but that seems smart to me. That's pretty awesome. I got to admit, that's a pretty damn cool dude who just openly states things like that. So I got to respect that. John Z, Project, your eyes are hurting. Sorry, buddy. We'll try to do this again soon. So you guys are getting crazy. Can you upload a video one day about what all is in an Aries Go bag, like radios, clothes, first responder kits, batteries? I can't do an Aries Go bag because I live in Southern California, and I signed up for Aries Races, or I think both. Like I said, hey, contact me, I want to join, let me know. Never got back to me. I think I've done it twice now. Never got back to me. Maybe they know who I am, and then I'm a nut. But I can walk through my CERT bag, which is the Community Emergency Response Team, and then the modifications that I have done to the bag, and then my own extra level of stuff that I have. And the family sounds like they are home. What else we got? I use Gordo's book. Let me go back over the chat. I'm going to switch back over here. I use Gordo's chat for general, and I'm going through it extra. I was jammed practice. Yep. So Brian Ogram, I agree. Chris Jones, I am having trouble with the general. Can you help? K6AAX. So that's a pretty broad question you're asking me. What exactly? What is it that exactly you're having trouble with? It's hard for me to provide help if I don't know. With that said, I need to get through the technician class first. So that's here on the webs, the interwebs, and then people can go, they can go comment, get more people involved, get more people engaged. So we're going to leave it at that, I think, for today. How many? We got just past an hour here. Had a really good turnout. So if you're watching this on the back end, I'm sorry you can't see all the really good comments. I hope that I relayed them vocally. But if you have a question, or I didn't cover it, or probably you thought I didn't put enough detail in some of this, that's because I do want you to go buy the book. So if you can, go to my Amazon store. Now, I call it a store. Really, it's just a curated list of products I recommend. I'm not selling these. I'm not getting paid. I do get an affiliate cut. It's a couple percentages of the sale. It's no additional cost to you. Your cost doesn't go up in any way. It's just for me putting the word out. Call it a finder's fee to get you to go. So, go to my Amazon store. The book's there. My recommended radios are there. Radios that have been in all my videos are there. The things I support. I'm doing a whole series of videos on antennas for the Baofeng radios. I have 4 or 5 different antennas sitting over here that I'm going to do, and I made a big purchase. I bought a Rig Expert antenna analyzer. This is a multi-$100 device that will do HF antenna analysis, and also this particular model will do VHF. It's pretty serious. So I will be doing a video on which antennas are best antennas, particularly for the Baofeng BF-F8HP, which is my recommended antenna. Okay, thanks for the live stream, John. No problem. Hain Tatua, is that right? Tatua? I agree with John. Thanks. Hey, no problem. Ryan Chase, what program do you use for chat window? I have been live streaming and like that setup. So I'm using an application called OBS. OBS, right? OBS has a, you can add a screen element. And in this case, it's like a web browser element. And so what I did is I linked to that browser element the URL for the chat room, and then I've applied a cascading style sheet to it. And there's a website that can show you how to do that. If you just search YouTube streaming chat room OBS, it should come up if you Google it. Future video about GPRS repeaters, ideal for non-ham friends and family emergencies. I have no GPRS radio. So if anybody wants to, anybody out there that's a company like Midway or one of those companies that produces GPRS radios, if they want to send me one, I'll absolutely try and hit some repeaters, but I don't have any experience in that. Have you tried the DV Mega for Raspberry Pi? I have not. GMRS. Yeah, it's not GPRS. You're right. It's GMRS. So I have GMRS radios, but I've never actually worked on GMRS repeaters. So I can't comment. Let's pull up. You have my interest. Let me pull up this. What is a DV Mega? DV Mega. DV Mega. DV Mega is a collective name for digital voice and data related kits and modules at this moment. D-Star. Okay. So it's a digital module. It's basically almost like a software-defined radio for Raspberry Pi. In this case, that does D-Star, which is a digital mode for VHF and UHF. How much is this? Hundreds of dollars. $120, my guess. 120. 120. This website is slow. Okay, well, that's coming up. Got a quick little shout out. morseCode.scphillips.com/trainer. Go there. You can learn Morse code. Awesome. Great website. $105 for the free audio board included, the AMBE 3000, which is in euro. So 105 probably translates to about 120. So yeah, a little bit over around 120 bucks. I'm gonna save the link and go check that out. Yeah, DMR, digital modulated radio, something like that. All right, that will do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you're watching this after the fact, no problem. We'll do this again, probably in a week or two. And just post your questions. What would you like to see more of? If you're already currently doing your technician license and want some more help, what do you need help with? And then maybe what radio are you thinking about buying? There's a good question for the people that have waited this long. What radio are you going to buy when you get your license? Post in the comments below for those of you who are seeing this after the fact. All right, if you have not already, please hit the subscribe button and hit that little bell, because what it'll do is I set up my live stream sessions about a day or two in advance, so that way you'll know, so you can kind of quote-unquote schedule it to be available if you want to talk live and ask me questions. So that'll do it. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Take it easy. We'll try and see if